sometimes kasi we're concentrated on the paycheck, on what we provide in terms of money, but we forget that there's a whole lot more to caring for a home na you can communicate in very simple things.
Welcome everybody to the Daddy DIY podcast. This is your host Carl D, and today we have a very special episode because our guest is not a daddy but a mommy. And for those na mga batang 80s tulad ko, this name will be familiar to you. So today we've invited a mommy to share with us her thoughts or advice how we can be better dads and better husbands. So without further ado, today, let me introduce to you our next speaker. She is a pastor's wife. She is a batang 80s and a former actress, celebrity. Nakikita natin siya sa Ang TV. Wow! So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Rica Peralejo Bonifacio.
Thank you, Carl. I'm just so excited to be on this show because precisely, mga tatay ang kausap natin. Nakakatawa. But I'm a mom, right?
Rica, I've invited, most of our listeners here are mostly dads kasi nga, we see that just like me, when I was starting out as a dad, I was lost. Hindi ko talaga alam gagawin ko, di ba? Wala naman subjects at school about being a dad, di ba? And yung mga mentors pa natin, mga bad boy, yung mga nakikita sa TV, mga machismo, di ba? So, I felt that maybe there's an opportunity for us to reach out to the dads and guide them how to be better husbands, number one. And then how to be better dads to their kids.
And so I wanted to share 4 things that I feel are important for a dad. The first is presence. Your presence is enough. I mean, we all have heard of stories about absentee fathers and how that just, does something to your family, your wife, and also your children. And so presence is very important. And when I asked my children recently, parang, what is one thing you can't forget about Papa? It's never about a material thing. It's always a memory na when we were playing this. Wow. It's never when I got. It's always the time that he spent with the children. And sometimes kasi we're concentrated on the paycheck, on what we provide in terms of money, but we forget that there's a whole lot more to caring for a home na you can communicate in very simple things. Dads, just be present. You don't really need to, go over the top. You don't even need to bring them to a really nice place. Those are nice things, but really, bottom core of it, just be present. Just be there for them. So that's the first thing. Totoo talaga yon na ikaw ang unang, kumbaga, model ng isang lalaki sa mata ng anak mong babae. So in a way, you have provided, whether you like it or not, some sort of a limit or a model for how your women or your girls will actually choose their lifelong partner someday. Majority kasi talagang ang provider ay yung tatay.
Yeah.
And syempre nakafocus kayo doon.
Yeah.
All for the love din naman. Hindi ko sinasabing mali yun kasi mahal nyo ang pamilya nyo, kaya nga kayo nag-work hard. Kaya lang, kailangan ako talagang taga-balance ako ng asawa ko. So makinig din kayo sa mga asawa nyo. Kasi ako talaga, sinasabi ko sa kanya, oy, hindi ka na namin nakita ng 3 araw ha. Pakita ka naman sa 4th day. Ganyan ako sa kanya. Kasi, oo, tama naman. You need to secure the future of your children. And we are glad as moms, as partners, that you would do that. but there's also a very, very big hole in there that can only be filled by the father.
Mhm.
And hindi na namin kaya yung mga nanay.
Yeah. You mentioned na it's never too late. Because what if the audience out there is saying na, hindi 15 years na akong ganun. Teenager
Oo,
na
alam
yung
mo.
anak ko, ma-stubborn na. Ayaw na makinig sa akin. Can I still change and improve?
Alam mo, ang gandang question kasi ang pangsagot ko dyan ay yung sa amin ng tatay ko. Kasi nung nawala siya, ang dami kong regrets.
Oh.
Bilang, ito naman hindi lang pang tatay. It has to be lalo na kung adult na ang children. I do believe na ang isang tatay, kaya, kumbaga parang gusto naman niya. Hindi ako naniniwala na walang tatay na nag-isip na hindi nag-iisip na, paano ko ba magiging close sa anak ko? Parang ganun. Or parang, paano ba kami magkakaroon ng relationship? Ganyan. Kaya lang nga minsan, yun na nga, nakalipas na ang ilang taon, hindi mo pa nagagawa. Sa akin, kahit mahirap, simulan mo lang. Kasi kahit na hindi nila i-receive in the way that you want to be received, when you pass, the thing that will stay in their heads is that my father tried.
Oh.
And that's a very big thing.
Okay, Dad, dami natin gagawin after nitong show na to. So number 1 pa lang tayo. 4 tong mga tips. Number 1 pa lang, busog na tayo. Presence and that kind of conversation, question, hit the heart.
4 is privilege. Now is the pandemic. And I'm pretty sure that it affected your life somehow in the sense na you have more time. Or at least more time at home. Mas nakikita mo ang iyong mga anak. Find the privilege in this season of the pandemic, even if nakakainis na minsan dahil you're in each other's faces all the time. Napakaskip ng bahay nyo, nagkikita kayo. Let's try to put it in our hearts that this is a privilege. This is a time that's never coming back again. When the world goes back to rolling the way it was rolling before, you're going to go back to these moments, these years na we had so much time together. Sabi nga ni Brené Brown, time is the greatest unrenewable resource that we have out there.
You mentioned about presence. And number 2, the privilege of this season. Ano pa yung number 3 and number 4 tip?
Number 3, purpose. Just, your role in your family is to give direction. And also, I learned this from my grief counselor. Fathers are supposed to call their children into life. And so, if you, kumbaga as a dad, sana very purposeful ka sa mga sinasabi mo rin sa mga anak mo. Na yun nga, na hindi lang puro rules and regulations, but is there affirmation in there as well? I think that you can only do that when you are purposeful about the things that, when you spend time with your children. Kasi, di ba, sinabi ko nga presence. Pero paano naman kung yung presence mo ay sa tabi ka lang, nanonood ka lang ng Netflix, parang hindi ka rin present, absent ka din, nasa tabi ka nga, hindi mo naman ginagamit with wisdom yung time with them. So sana, kapag may oras ka na with them, purpose. Be purposeful about it and speak purpose into the lives of your children.
Agree. So that's our role. We cannot be passive, no? We have to be intentional. We have to be active. Hindi lang talaga tayo breadwinner. We have so many roles shared by Mommy Rica. And I appreciate, Rica, that you mentioned about the culture, no? Kasi nga, no? You don't have to criticize what the other people are doing. Diba?
Yes.
They're doing something different. But if you have a culture, that is just not what you are. Number 4, we're now down to the last tip.
Okay,
and,
number 4.
Feeling ko yung mga daddy audience natin pressured na.
Hindi, kaya nga hinuli ko to. Ang 4th ko ay peace.
Wow, okay.
You have peace in your hearts. You know, peace in the Bible is shalom, and shalom really means wholeness.
Yep.
It's not so much na parang yung peace in the world lang, ganon. Actually, it is kasi when there's wholeness, when there's an integrated world, then there's peace in the world. But what I mean by being whole is that Peace kasi does not mean perfection. I'm not asking for a perfect dad. I'm asking for a whole dad. And a whole dad on earth, at least, is someone who is both broken and beautiful. One is, yes, you have all your good parts. But let's face it, you're also not just good parts. You have bad parts.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
And we have to make peace with that we are not yet. Make peace in your heart that, this is expected. That I will not be a perfect dad. But there are tools around me that will help me keep the relationship. One is the gift of sorry. You can always say sorry to your children, and I don't think it makes you very little in their eyes. And so I feel like as dads, ganun, parang wag nyo rin bigyan ng false pressure yung sarili nyo na magagawa nyo to lahat ng perfectly, ng walang mintes, kumbaga.
Yeah.
Kasi tao lang tayo. And so we have to make peace with that we are human, we are broken, but we are also beautiful at the same time.
What I appreciate about all the tips you gave, 4 tips, it doesn't cost money. Di ba? Okay, i-recap ko lahat, Rica. Number 1, for all the dads out there, presence. You just have to be there. And when you're present, don't be a critic. Di ba? Be an encourager. You speak life. Kumbaga, speak life, encourage your kids, ask more questions about them. Don't be too performance-based. Number 2, privilege. Be appreciative of this moment na, if you can work from home, don't waste this privilege na instead of becoming more closer to your family, may friction pa kayo at hindi mo nakokontrol yung temper mo. Diba? Sometimes daddies gets to, diba? So reminder to all the dads out there, control our temper. This is a moment na dapat i-cherish. Number 3, purpose. You mentioned about speaking life to your kids. Your words, setting the temperature, setting the culture. Ano ba ang Bonifacio family? Ano ba ang D family? Ano ba tayo?
Yes.
Mayaman sila, tayo hindi. But it's okay. We are whole. We are a family. And I appreciate, Rica, na nothing mentioned about expensive travels, going out of town, eating in fancy restaurants. No, now that you mention it, Rica, oo nga, no, ang dami palang pwedeng magawa namin mga dads na hindi involve a lot of money. And of course, lastly, yung peace. Be at peace with who you are, what God has given to you. Diba? Be grateful. I think the keyword also is to be grateful of what you have. And siguro to summarize, dads out there na nakikinig, salamat for listening. And if you appreciate Mommy Rica, please just go to the comment and just show your appreciation. And siguro, lastly, I always tell yung mga listeners ko rin na we as a dads, we have to love our wife first.
Yes.
Right, no? No amount of showing love to your kids will compensate if you do not treat your wife the right way. Yeah?